all of us have done other work since the show ended, and I just said to them, okay, you ruined everything else. That's the way I feel.
For real.
For real. You go on another set and you go, oh, it's not Maisel.
Super interested to hear what you think about the ending. Do you think fans are going to be satisfied? Do you think they're going to be crying?
I have seen the entire 5th season. So I found it, the great wish every year is that they're surprising, Amy and Dan, the show's creators and showrunners. And that surprise element continues all the way through the 5th season. And I was thrilled about that. I'm thrilled about the way that they, quote unquote, stuck the landing. I think the final episode will be wildly entertaining, but also satisfying to real fans of the show.
And the last season, the last episode of every beloved series, that is a very tough nut to crack. And I've been an audience member that's been really disappointed. I wanted something else. You look forward when you've been invested in a show, like when it was The Sopranos or the mythology around the last MASH episode or Who Killed JR. It's a big deal, the last episode of beloved series. And I think it's a very tough challenge for the writers.
Yeah.
And I think they did a great job.
Oh, wonderful. I'm so excited to see it myself. I'm curious for you both. You bid farewell to the show during your last day on set, but now you're re-entering this final chapter with the fans. How has it been for both of you kind of emotionally there?
Well, not yet with the fans because they haven't seen it. So we'll begin that journey on April 14th, of course. I look forward to it, to go. They're going to drop 3 and then 1 a week for 6 weeks. And I'm greatly looking forward to that process. Every year, it's an extraordinary ramp up for fans who reach out through social media, or you'll see them in public. And then they're just so unbelievably supportive and sweet and enthusiastic. So, yeah, of course, we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, and then it's like there's been so many endings. Like there was the last table read, there was the last day on set, then there was the last day I was in the sound studio doing my ADR, and there would always be tears like, this is the last time. And then there would be this sort of surprise, except we're going to be together to do this week of press as we launch this final season, and we'll be together again in LA for the very last episode when it drops. And so I think, it's when all of that is done that I think the real sort of mourning period will begin then.
Yeah, we've had a Maisel family text thread among the cast that has been going strong whether we're shooting or not shooting, especially fun in the off season. That has continued all through since we finished shooting in November, and I feel will pretty much go on till the end of time. That keeps us all very much in each other's lives.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, I've said to Amy and Dan, all of us have done other work since the show ended, and I just said to them, okay, you ruined everything else. That's the way I feel.
For real.
For real. You go on another set and you go, oh, it's not Maisel. You put on these clothes and you go, oh, it's not as good. Yeah. You know what I mean? You just have to accept that the bar will be lower.
Yeah.
It's just,
We were lucky, and now we're not.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. I feel so lucky to have been on this journey together, but now I'm like devastated. You've broken my heart so many times.
Well, never say never. According to all television rules, we'll be back in 5 years with a movie.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Well, I can't wait for when it does happen. And I know you can't say a ton about the final season. Don't want to get you in trouble.
What do you want to know?
Yeah, tell me the ending. Yeah.
Okay. What happens is you want to be surprised.
But you know how the fans are so excited? We were exactly the same way as actors. Yeah. We had no idea how they were going to land the plane. We were like, what do you think's going to happen? Yeah. I even had pitched the idea to everybody in the cast that we should all write down how we think the show is going to end. Yep. And then after we actually found out how it ended, we'd all pool our ideas together. And Emmy was a little scared that one of us would come up with a better idea, so she wouldn't let us do it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
As if that was possible.
Right. Well, is there anything that you can tease for us a little bit about how your journeys are wrapping up with the show without spoiling too much?
I would just keep using the word surprise. It's one joy of the show throughout all these seasons, and it is at its best in season 5 in terms of surprises. which just makes the adventure so much more exciting while it's unfolding in front of you. So surprises,
And
big
surprises, yes. And that she never wavers in pursuit of her dream. That's the thing, no matter what the obstacles are. And I think that's, it inspires me as just a person to see somebody never give up. It's so easy to give up, and she never does.
The inner power and strength of Midge is unparalleled.
Absolutely. And this show has meant so much to so many people, whether it's inspirational or reminding them of family, of their own relationships. What do you think it is about the show that both of you will take with you forever, for the rest of time?
Well, for me, there's two things. One is that excellence is good business. I'd almost been talked out of that by being in show business for so long, which is always looking for ways, I guess, to spend the least and make the most. And everywhere you look in terms of this show, there is an A-plus person down the line in every single department. So that being excellent is something that has been inspired in me by this show. That it really pays off, that kind of excellence. And it paid off in this show in a big way. And also courage. All of these characters are very brave. They are making a new world for themselves in terms of the real story of this country. This family, the Maisels, who very recently probably came to this country in the early days, we get our dream. We get to leave the city and buy a house and live in the suburbs. The thing we're all avoiding now in every single way so we can live in big cities. But, that was the American dream, and they were a part of it. And so I have sort of like internalized that too.
Oh, I love that. And Kevin, what about you?
This was the most challenging and rewarding work I've been fortunate enough to do. As an actor, the great responsibility of lifting these incredible scripts off the page, having the trust from Emmy and Dan, who both directed almost every episode, one or the other. Almost zero notes from them the entire experience, which meant, it takes a while to learn. Oh, that means you're doing it right.
Right.
As opposed to, why isn't mommy or daddy telling me I'm good? So just the sense of this is some of the hardest stuff I've done, and also the most rewarding. Really, a sense of gratitude through all that has been maybe the best.
I am super excited for the final season of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and I'm also devastated that this is the final season. How do you both feel now that we are kind of entering into this final chapter with the rest of the cast?
It's hard to let it go. It's been a very, very, very significant and lovely experience, and it's hard to say goodbye.
Yeah, absolutely. Marion, how do you feel about that?
I feel I might even take that and up it. Like I feel like so devastated. It's funny. I just
her life is over, baby.
She says with a laugh. I got out of the apartment that I'm renting on the Upper West Side because I had to make sure I lived like Rose, so I rented places on Upper West to feel like her. And I got out and took a walk and got some bagels this morning. And I basically started weeping. I was like, and it was a weeping because I knew that this was the first day of the last week of the last season of this extraordinary experience. And I think, it doesn't come, this is so cliche, it doesn't come around very often to have a group of artists you work with or a crew that you work with that feels so much like family. We traveled around essentially like the world. We did a lot of traveling for the show. But also the style of this writing is different than any kind of television I'd ever worked on. I really felt like I was in a play, and that's sort of my first love anyway. So I got to do a play for 5 years, which doesn't really happen very often because it had the kind of intricacies of human nature, but also sort of the specific nature of structure of how to let something not just be a natural response, but to have something that lifts into a different creative place. Yeah. And I had never even let myself imagine that I could do a television show like this. So, in answer to your question, I feel pretty sad.
I'm sad too, but I'm curious what those last days, those last moments on set were like for each of you. Was it surreal? Did it hit you then? Did it hit you when you were, going home that night?
It was emotional, the last episode, certainly. But on the upside, because we all knew going into it that it was our last season, we were savoring every scene, every moment, every day. We held precious, and we just were kind of just allowing ourselves to feel immersed in it, and so that felt good, and it we sort of like had even a greater appreciation for where we were, who we were with, and what this material was that we got to work on.
Yeah, and the mirror of watching Rachel grow from this 26-year-old woman whose career was already in a great place, but like certainly this show has altered that landscape. But she, our fearless leader, and really like no other leader I've worked with, she's just like, but we as her parents watching what we got to watch at the end and do this, I hadn't been privy. His character had gotten to watch some stand-up, hers. I hadn't been able to do that. I could when I watched the show as Mark, but no, actually that's not true. Rose had watched a little
Miami,
something.
But you were drunk.
Yeah, I was drunk. So I can't remember it.
You can't remember it, right?
And then I watched as another moment too, but I guess I was drunk then too.
Much like today.
That's exactly
Right.
Yeah, that's so true. But anyway, I think we sat there, the two of us, like total crazy proud parents with tears in our eyes as we watched her. So the mirror of what we felt as real humans and then characters just kind of entwined a little bit.
Well, I know you can't tell us obviously how the show ends. We've all got to go on that journey together. But I'm curious if you think fans are going to be satisfied with the ending, or in what way you think they'll be satisfied with this story wrapping up.
I think they're going to be, very, very happy and feel very gratified. And they're also going to be super impressed that somehow, miraculously, our showrunners and the creative team outdid themselves in season 5, which didn't seem possible after the first 4 seasons. So I think people are going to feel that it's ended in the right way, in a good way, but in a somewhat unexpected way.
Oh, unexpected. Interesting. Can you tell us a little bit about maybe that, or is it too much? Yeah.
We're not allowed.
wish I could.
Someone I was speaking to that had seen the whole, you have not, I take it, seen all.
No, just the first couple episodes.
Okay. So someone I spoke to, so I'm not going to give much away, said that they're huge Amy and Dan fans like we are, and they expected no less from them as to have something get so grounded in the end. Like it isn't just something that's like tied up and this is little magical, realistic, like, this is like a pretty picture in the end. It isn't like that. It has a kind of quality of like, and we go on. And this is something that touches you in a very truthful, complicated way. So I do love that they did that with the show. That's what I can offer you.
That's wonderful to hear. And it's such a special show. I know people are really devastated when it was announced that this was going to be the final season. What do you think it is about this show, about this story, about your characters that have brought people in and really touched them so tremendously?
Wow, so many things. I think it's a period that people love to have, like to kind of revisit or get if they're young enough, get a first peek into. So well executed in that realm. It's a story about a bunch of fighters, a bunch of survivors. It's a story about a woman who, really comes into her own, finds her voice, is an advocate for herself, and has this sort of unstoppable, indefatigable, core. And in this character of Midge, played so brilliantly by Rachel. She's just someone that you're rooting for, someone that you wanna follow that story. And then, of course, there's the beautiful friendship and working relationship between Midge and Susie, which is complex and fraught with all kinds of difficulty and conflict, but at the heart of it is a real love story too. So there's just a lot to love in this piece.
I haven't been part of a show in which so many people have some very different reasons that they connect to the show.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's like
Right.
some people watch it and they say, oh my God, I just love all the family. And then they just love all the family stuff. And then some people say like, God, that relationship between the two women, it's sort of like a love affair of sorts. And some people say like they're so into like the aesthetics of it and what you were saying about sort of the time period and the visuals and the music. And so I do think Amy and Dan are amazing at incorporating so many different
Yes.
levels of expertise, and so it isn't not to take away from other shows, but ours has a kind of grandeur in the middle of this like wonderful, joyful piece. It has a lot of joy in it. At a time
Absolutely.
during COVID, when pre-COVID, was one life, but then COVID and post-COVID, we've all needed a kind of relief with what we've been able to watch, and there aren't that many things that provide that kind of levity, and ours does, I think.
We're heading into the final season of Mrs. Maisel. I'm curious what it's like for both of you, as everyone else is getting ready to enter this final chapter of your story.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a fun and sad series of goodbyes. We had like the big final, goodbye on set, and now we kind of like being forced to rip off the Band-Aid and feel the feels all over again. But like what a special journey that like I think we're all very lucky to be a part of.
Yeah, absolutely. What was that final day on set like for both of you? I'm curious, both of your stories.
It was emotional, it was very exciting. I, for one, did not sleep a whole lot the night before because we had a lot of work to do. So I was up, studying lines quite a bit, and you want to get it just right because, man, there's no pushing after that last day. But then, slowly as the day progresses and you can feel it, we're getting closer to that last scene, and then you're closer to that last moment, and then that final shot, you can just feel that energy and that release wanting to come. And I just feel so fortunate to have joined the family at just the right time and been there for the big goodbye.
Yeah, absolutely. What about your last day?
Yeah, I mean, like, so special to get to be there. I'm like, 6 feet away from Reed and Rachel, and she's saying like the last word she's ever gonna say as the marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and I'm like an eye line there for it, and I'm standing behind Amy, who's like watching the monitor, trying not to cry, and saying like, let's just do one more, not because we needed it, but because I think we all weren't ready yet to like give it up. Yeah, I mean, a very, very special experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know you can't let us know too much ahead of time. People got to tune in and watch. But, what can you tell us about how Mike and Gordon's stories are going to kind of enter into their final chapters as well?
It's fun because when we first sort of meet these guys, Mike is Gordon's talent booker. And they both go through these really incredible, very well-rounded journeys. They're both ambitious guys. I think they become closer over the course of the season. I think, they start to see that they really work. They're very simpatico. And they go from sort of being employer-employee to really raising up to more like partners by the end. And that was the whole behind the scenes at the Gordon Ford show. That was the highlight for me for the season. It was a lot of fun to play.
Oh, that's awesome. And Jason, what about you? What are you looking forward to fans seeing the most as we kind of wrap up your story?
I mean, I've never got to play such like a psychopath before. So like that was like very fun. And I've also really not done a lot of comedy. And so I'm hoping that it's at least hopefully it's a little funny. But I mean, like getting to you know, like I had just like never thought about how these late night talk shows function and how they work. It's just something that I, you know, took for granted and just sort of like grew up with, you know, and then to kind of like, that's what's so great about our jobs too. It's like we get like just kind of like dumped into these different worlds, and you have the opportunity to kind of like learn everything about them, everything that you can about them. And you know, that process is always like so intoxicating and like such a to learn that like just like how chaotic and fraught and fast paced and exciting, you know, that world was. And then to try and then like as it's you know, it's very similar to what we do, but you know, then you're like all funneling that energy to this one moment when the camera goes on and it has to be perfect, and more times than not it is, you know, which is like, I don't know, it was a very fun process to go along with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Learn about.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, again, we can't know the ending yet, but I'm curious if both of you think that the fans are going to be satisfied with this ending, what you think their response is going to be.
What? Oh, they're going to love it. Everyone's going to love it.
Absolutely.
Good.
They're gonna, you know, they're going to be upset that it's over, but you know, if you adhere to the whole, you know, adage of, you know, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened, they're going to be very, very pleased. Very, very
This
pleased.
guy, he's just so good at
I'm like
this.
channeling my dad.
The perfect tease. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm also curious if there was anything, I know obviously wrapping it up, fans are going to be satisfied. Is there anything that either of you wish we had gotten a little bit more time to dive into, or if there was like a spin-off of some sort that you would want to dive into with any of the characters?
I would live in this world for the next like 30 years of my career if I could.
Yeah.
It was so fun. And there's just so much to explore there. You know, the whole world of late night television, the vaudevillian aspect of it, the, you know, the live television aspect of it, the theater campiness of it, the business that they're running sort of behind the scenes. There's so much fodder there.
It's a whole show in itself.
It's a whole show in itself.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way we felt on set. I mean, we were very much, you know, in our own little bubble, a show within a show, and we all got pretty close. It was really cool. And you know, we had this whole, you know, richly filled out office with all the, you know, the secretarial pool and all the PAs running around and a whole room of writers, and it was just, you know, so immersive. It really dropped you in, and it, you know, it was hard to leave it at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and do you think that immersiveness is what translates to the audience and really brings them in so much, because people really just are so captivated by the show?
Oh, the detail, it's second to none. Absolutely. Yeah. Every single piece of furniture and set dressing is cared for. It's cared about. It's done with thought and with purpose. And, you know, you might not see it on camera, but the actors have experienced it when we're shooting it, and it comes through in the performance, and that's what I think the audience picks up on. And that is just a credit to the, you know, the incredible crew that Amy and Dan have assembled since day one.
We also have some of the best background actors
Phenomenal.
in the business.
Phenomenal.
Just creating the environment for us. And, we, you know, like especially in the office, you know, we had our like little bullpens, and we were like with the same people in our teams, you know, and like without them, the world is empty, you know, and they were just like rock stars, like really good.
Yeah. Well, I am like so sad that we're coming to an end, but I know it's going to be perfect. Is there any last message that you want to give to fans before they get to tune in and watch the first couple episodes?
You know, Rachel Brosnahan is the greatest actor on the face of the earth. So tune in and hold on tight.
Yeah. Buckle up.
Reed's good too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm super excited for the last season. So thank you.